Welcome to the Community Connections Podcast. As President and CEO of Bank of Idaho, equal housing lender, member FDIC, I am fascinated with authentic and real conversations, and my goal is to establish long-term relationships. Community Connections is an opportunity for me to connect with local business owners and leaders to hear their stories. Here at Bank of Idaho, people bank with people. Today our guest is Russell Davies, CEO and founder of Professional Transformation Sports Development, and was Sargent in the U.S. Army. This podcast episode contains sensitive topics and stories. Viewer discretion advised for the content that will be discussed. Russell, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Love your story. Thank you, first of all, for your service.
Appreciate that.
And then thank you for serving those that have served our country.
Yeah.
It didn't just stop with you, and then you continued to serve.
Right. No, absolutely. Well, I mean, it helped me tremendously, and I knew it would help other veterans, and so it just kind of made sense. And you know, it's therapeutic for me, and so I couldn't be more humbled at the opportunity that this is what I get to do. So.
Yes. Well, we share that service, in that I never put on a uniform.
Right.
But I believe so much in what our country does and the people that do it.
Right.
That I joined the employer support of the Guard and Reserves, so that I can help those that are in the Guard and Reserves and encourage other employers to hire them. And
absolutely.
Because, as you know, the transition back is
can
not
be
always
difficult, for sure, without a doubt.
And the enemy's bullets don't know the difference between a reservist and a full-time.
That's true, for sure,
Guard.
without a doubt.
So I've dedicated the rest of my life to the same kind of thing, as serving those that are serving our country, or who have served. And there is great pleasure in that.
For sure.
It's an honor, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I couldn't, like I said, it's a privilege for me, and it's therapeutic to me. Helping other people find the same thing that helped me has just been amazing. So yeah, I'm just excited to continue to do it, and we've had such tremendous success with it that
That's cool.
there's no.
I love the name of your organization that talk about just hitting it straight on, right between the eyes.
Right. No, absolutely.
P.T.S.D.
P.T.S.D. Yeah,
Yes.
Professional Transformation Sports Development.
Yeah.
So we kind of just put a twist on the acronym there, and so it helps in a multitude of different ways, because I've found from people that they go online and they're wondering if their symptoms are directly related to that, and that kind of orients them already in our direction. And so it's definitely helped people know that this opportunity is available to them.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and you've been interviewed regarding this all nationally.
Yeah, we've had tremendous success with the media helping us out substantially, because we launched this about 3 years ago, and right out of the gate we had like Men's Health magazine and Psychology Today magazine all jump on board and want to do interviews, and the Today Show and things along those guidelines. So it's been amazing just to see how people are getting behind this and understanding what it is that we do and why it's a benefit to veterans that are struggling.
Yeah. So before we go kind of to the birthplace of this organization,
right?
What was it like? I got to know, what was it like on the Today Show?
Not
many people have done that.
Right, for sure. It's kind of a hustle. You get there, they have everybody show up at the same time, so you'll get there at 5:30 in the morning.
Oh.
And won't even have airtime till like 8:30, maybe even 9. Along those guidelines. And so you just kind of wait in this little room, and it's a constant huge shuffle of moving parts that's going on, and the different people that are going on the show that day. And so they just briefly let pretty much get the green light. You go in there, you set up real quick while they're at a commercial break, comes back on, you're on there for maybe 3-5 minutes at the very most.
Is that right?
Yeah, they just break it all up, so the duration of the on air is longer, but they just ask direct to the point questions and then right back off. But it was cool because they had some animal handlers that were on that day, and so while we were all in the back, we got to sit there and play with cheetahs and monkeys and stuff like that. So it was a cool experience.
Cool.
Yeah, it was fun, but New York's not my favorite. That's
No?
for sure. No. Nope. Yeah, so that's it. Place is just a little too chaotic for my liking.
Well, you're a Pocatello boy, right?
Yeah. Yep. Born and raised here in Pocatello. Yeah. Up until 18, and jumped right in the military upon that.
So tell what inspired you to serve, to join military?
Right. Yeah. I would say like one of the main reasons. I was in high school. I was about 2 months from graduating and got into an altercation with another gentleman. And this was right around the same time that they were implementing the zero tolerance policy. And so we were made an example of. And so I thought, maybe get, suspended for a couple days or something along those guidelines. But no, they entirely kicked us out of District 25. So
wow.
Yeah, that was a heavy blow.
So he kicked you out of high school?
Yeah, they got out of District 25. So
what did you do then?
Yeah, that's that was kind of it. It was like it was kind of eye-opening because the circumstances of the altercation were definitely seemed like a guy actually pulled a knife on me in high school, and that's how the whole fight actually started. And so to me, it was just kind of like, well, what did you expect me to do in that situation? Yeah. But it was zero tolerance, so they kicked both of us out and told me to find a different school district. And that would mean, coming here to like Idaho Falls or something, and didn't have family or anything out here. So I was speaking to an Army recruiter already, and he was like, get paid to fight, And so he just kind of, we talked about, the different types of opportunities, and, my family, I really wanted to help my mom. I knew that she struggled a little financially, and I knew that not only would this be a way for me to kind of bring myself back out of the slump that I had found myself in, and hopefully prove the guy wrong that thought, I didn't deserve another chance at graduating. So, that kind of was the main incentive. So I grabbed my GED and walked into the Army recruiting doors, and it's just like, I want to join the Army. And he's like, okay, what do you want to do? And, I looked at him confused because I was like, didn't I just walk in the Army doors? I had no idea that there was hundreds of jobs available in the Army, that not everybody was, just on the front lines and stuff like that. So I took a little bit of time to go over my options, but I knew I wanted to see the front lines firsthand. And so, I didn't want to join the military and cook food on a large base. I wanted to see firsthand, be directly involved in the action, and be on a ground level to see exactly what's going on over there. So I selected airborne infantry. Yeah,
that's full
for
on.
Sure. Yeah, it was eye-opening to say the least. Yeah, I mean, you think you know what you're doing at the ripe age of 18, but
that's right.
Yeah, I thought my parents and teachers and coaches were strict. I had no idea when, you get 10-second showers, a minute to eat, you barely get any sleep. I mean, they break you down and everything, and just to build you back up. But it was definitely like a good week or two that you're like, I think I made a mistake.
I bet, huh?
Like, if this is how it's going to be the next 5 years of my service.
It's a long 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's kind of what brought me into the military. And, I got done with basic training, AIT, and went from Fort Benning, Georgia to Fort Campbell, Kentucky with the 101st Airborne, 3rd Brigade Rockassons. And before my 19th birthday, so about 3 months after getting there, I was on my way to Iraq.
3 months later.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, so I knew,
that
I'd go, but...
Gosh, what was going through your mind when...
I mean, you do all this training to prepare for it and everything and stuff, and then once you get to your unit and you start training with all the other guys that you're going to be going overseas with, you think you're ready. So you're like, you're kind of eager, to be honest. I mean, in the military, you're called a cherry until you've actually been to combat, so, there's all sorts of extra details where they're like, if you haven't been overseas, go clean up everything, and do all these extra details. But it was mind-blowing, getting to a third world country, like that is just something.
You ever been out of Idaho?
By that time, no, I'd never been out of Idaho. Yeah.
So you hit the desert?
Yeah. Yep. And, you know, it was just the extreme amount of poverty in a war-torn country, and and not knowing who's friend and who's foe is just, it's a difficult thing to grasp. And we lost, I think, 4 guys that first month we got there. And
these are guys you trained with?
Yeah, from our company, on a pre-routine troll, catastrophic IED. Killed everybody in that vehicle. And that's huge. You know, I mean,
change your life.
You realize that this is real, and people are going to lose their lives, and so that was definitely one of the biggest hits, I think, that I can remember from first getting over there. Was, you know, we have 36 guys in a platoon. We just lost 5 of them. We're in the first month out of 15 months at this rate. Like, you're not going to make it home if this is going to be the way we go.
That had to hit you really hard.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of just makes you almost go a little bit numb, kind of really grasp like the concept that maybe you might not make it home. And so, you know, I think it kind of makes you probably a little bit better of a soldier at that point, because you realize that, you know, the chance that you could die in combat is definitely real. And so
then what happens next?
We continued to conduct missions in Yusufia, Iraq, for the remainder of the 15 months. You know, bullets. I think it was one of our patrols after that. We were trying to build little small outposts for the Iraq army to then start trying to be able to lock down these roads so that people can't plant IEDs on them.
Right.
And we were setting up a tower, and we were just kind of sitting there waiting for the engineers to finish building, and, you know, we had gotten so complacent because a couple hours went by and just figured, you know, there's no one in the area. We were sitting on the hood of a Humvee, and somebody lit us up with machine gun fire. And you know, that's quickly, like, it's weird. You see the difference in people really rapidly, you know. You know, there's guys that 6'10", you know, linebacker types that talk all this crap, and when the bullets start hitting, you know, you see their true colors. They're face down in the dirt, and so we reacted to the combat, and that was probably the first time that I engaged the enemy, and it was pretty intense, and that continued for the entire 15 months, you know. But we had so many boots on the ground there that they knew they could only fight, you know, for 10, 15 minutes maybe at a time, because you'd have QRF, or a quick reaction force, coming to aid, and so they would try and get a couple of guys, and then they would pop smoke and try and get out of there before, you know, Apaches arrived, or a backup platoon or something like that. So luckily I made it through the 15 months and got back, and I originally joined the Army just for 3 years because I wanted to see if it was something that I enjoyed or not. And so we got back, and they tell you, you know, you got 11 months before we're redeploying to Afghanistan. And at this time there was stop loss, which is where, you know, they pretty much tell you your needs at the Army, we're extending your contract because we need more guys overseas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Like that, the recruiter never mentioned that to me at all.
That was in the fine print.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, I already got content with the idea that I was going to be going to Afghanistan, and then you become a squad leader, and you have, you know, 8 guys that are under your command, and you start teaching them everything, all the battle drills and stuff, and how to react to contact and stuff like that. And right about 2 months from deploying, President Obama was elected, and one of the first things he did was abolish stop loss. And so it went from a mind setting of you're going to, no, now you're getting out, and that's final. And, you know, I asked if I could just extend for the duration. They said, you know, if you wanted to go, you'd have to re-enlist for 2 years.
Yes.
And so I did. So there was no way I was going to leave the guys that I'd been training for 11 months.
So you re-up for another 2 years?
Yeah, to make sure that I could go to Afghanistan. You know, I didn't want to.
Wow. Didn't want to leave your guys hanging.
Be like, best of luck. Taught you everything I know. I'm gonna get out of here while the getting's good. So, re-enlisted to go to Afghanistan, and that was, you know, everything that I learned in Iraq that I thought would compare over there was almost entirely different. I mean,
is that right?
Stretched so thin, and there's
no reaction forces right at your beck and call.
Exactly. Yeah, so you're like out there on your own, and they were bringing the fight to you. I mean, we would get rocketed and mortared all the time on your own base, and the IEDs were just they were everywhere. I mean, there was times where we were rendered combat ineffective because we just didn't have vehicles to go out, and our resupply came from Dumbo drops, just huge. Airplane flies over, shoves everything out of the back of the plane, and then you go chase it around trying to get your fuel, your water, your food, and it was crazy. There was no like large convoys, and you were just stretched so thin. And I myself hit two IEDs in the duration that I was over there, which was one of them was extremely intense. The vehicle that I was riding in hit an IED. And I was in the back of the truck doing, the wrong thing, had my helmet off. I think I was eating like a can of tuna. Yeah. And I thought the truck actually drove over a cliff. That's kind of what it felt like we drove over like a 10, 15-foot cliff or something. Wow. And so immediately now I was like, what the hell is going on? Yeah. And, the dust and smoke settled, and, everybody else in that vehicle, and for some reason not me, was pretty critically injured. Oh. And so
you didn't have your helmet on.
Yeah, that must have been what did it.
Holy cow!
Yeah, I jacked I manually had to drop the back door down, and my first thing was get the injured to the medic. Yeah. And as soon as that door came down, they opened up on us with small arms fire and RPGs, and had us in this little valley, pretty much out of luck. And so I just. Yeah, I don't know, something else just kicked in. I started grabbing people and, throwing them on my shoulder and running them 50 meters to the next vehicle where the medic was waiting. Wow. And did that 4 different times to get everybody there under pretty intense fire, and knew I had to make it back one more time just based on, that we had the 60 millimeter mortar tube, which kind of launches small missiles, lobs them. And so I made it back to the vehicle, grabbed a couple machine gunners, had them start redirecting fire over there, and I just made it rain that day on that hillside from where we were taking contact, and wow. They either broke contact or were killed, and was able to get a 9-line medevac in, and all those guys lived.
Hey, so, you weren't hit at all?
I wasn't, no.
Throughout all that, you weren't hit? Wow.
Yeah, I know, it's pretty crazy, but they gave me an Army Commendation Medal with Valor. For saving the lives of 26 guys that day, so it was
26.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah. And then later on, I did end up getting injured though. The truck that I hit an IED, took shrapnel, compressed my spine, and gave me a traumatic brain injury. That was shortly after that. But I mean, they just needed guys, so I think it was 48 hours return to duty.
No kidding. So, after you were injured?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yeah.
Kidding. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So when you're going through that, I can't even imagine. I have no basis at all for the kind of trauma that is. What kept you going? What was? You had to reach down and grab something there.
For sure.
What was that?
For sure. I think it's just that the situation's only going to get worse if you don't try to redirect it in some way. So, you have 2 options, and I guess that's, pray and hope that it gets better, or take action and directly affect the outcome of something. And when, your brothers and sisters are around you, and they're depending on you and you're depending on them, it's just a matter of taking the initiative and making sure that it happens. And I think a large part of that is, probably my family, my upbringing. They gave me every opportunity to get involved in every and any sport that I wanted to do, and so you kind of had a little bit of knowing how to operate under strenuous situations, and I think that's a big thing that helped, and obviously your training and stuff like that, and like I said, it's just a matter of there's the scenario is what it is, and only you can do something to change the outcome. And
so this next one you go into that you get
right.
Hit. What was the scenario there?
It was pretty similar. The truck I was commanding in the front passenger seat, we were driving down this road to go, we were QRF, because now we'd been moved from Waziqua to the Ghazni Providence. They pretty much just shift you around to wherever the most contact is happening.
Okay.
You know, to pretty much, yeah, they embed you in the fight. One of the trucks was blown up, and it was a complex ambush. We were on our way to provide, you know, come to their aid, and I was the lead truck. I saw 3 prongs, you know, sticking out of the ground, and I tried to yell at my driver, but you know, those things weigh multiple tons.
Yeah, they don't move on a dime.
Yeah, so yeah, it detonated, and after that was pretty hard to really have any recollection after that. I knew, you know, we ended up getting out of the vehicle to try and yeah, I mean, it was on fire. So I remember getting out of the vehicle, and you know, machine guns opening up and them opening up on our position.
Yeah.
And taking cover behind the blown up MATV, and luckily we had Apaches that were already en route, and they came and started opening up, and you know, just remember the medic grabbing me and being like, you have to come into this vehicle right now. And I guess I was being pretty aggressive, because I thought I was fine, but everything that they tell me, it was just, yeah, pretty much no recollection until waking up, you know, the next day in an aid station. And
wow,
you know,
you wanted to keep fighting.
Yeah. That's apparently I thought I was fine, you know, until you wake up and there's blood on your uniform and you realize it's yours. And
wow,
you know, but like I said, you know, that was my brothers and sisters that apparently held down the fight while I was being medevaced out of there. So yeah, it's pretty crazy for sure. And you know, I think that's why we have so many veterans coming back that are struggling so drastically. You know, and I mean, if you take for a moment those types of scenarios being the everyday routine, and you know, we lost a good amount of guys while we were over there, and you know, and not only that, but taking lives. You know, there's a situation where we were on a rooftop providing overwatch for a meet and greet with one of the local sheikhs, and this was like right outside of our fob, so we didn't really think too much of it. And so my squad went to provide security and overwatch from the rooftops. Got up there, you know, 30 minutes went by. They told us we were about to break down and head out, so we started getting down, and apparently another topic of conversation arose, so they told us to get back up there. But what must have happened in that meantime was somebody threw intel towards the Taliban, and so they got, you know, the idea that we were on our way out. So they started moving in to ambush us on our exfil. And so, you know, we're just sitting up there, and one of my privates just yelled, you know, hey, we got these 4 guys on motorcycles all have RPGs and stuff like that. And so I ran over there, you know, radioed down to the platoon sergeant to try and figure out, because the Afghan army will not be wearing their uniforms, but they'll still be carrying their weapons. And so, you know, the last thing you want to do is kill an ally. But there was, you know, it came back that, you know, there was no Afghan army in the immediate area. And so they actually stopped, because I think they got the phone call as well that, like, wait, they're not leaving yet. And it was kind of from probably 50 meters away, you know, they looked up, they saw us, went to draw down, we opened fire, got 3 of them right off the get-go. One of them jumped over this mud hut, or this mud wall that had nowhere to go, and so I started lobbing 40-millimeter grenades over the wall. By this point, my platoon sergeant got up there, and this guy stood up, and you could tell he was injured and tattered up a bit. He got up but didn't have a weapon, and so we didn't engage. As he was stumbling around, he fell down a well, a dried up water well that was probably about 10 feet deep. And so he told me and my squad to go check it out and clear the bodies, and went over there, and I looked over this hole, and I could see him down there, you know, and he was still alive, and I don't know what he was mumbling, but he was fumbling around with his vest, and couldn't tell what he was doing until, you know, I saw him take a grenade off of his vest, and so I had to, you know, pretty much stand over this guy and shoot him 4 or 5 times.
Man.
Yeah, and then, you know, you bring back everybody. So then I had to climb down there, and there was no way for me to be able to actually get this guy, out of there by simply carrying him, and so I had to bring a truck there when QRF got there and drop down a winch and wrap, this winch around him, and pretty much rode him up like an escalator or like an elevator, because there's no way I could get out either.
Right.
And so that kind of stuff will stick with you forever. So
yes.
It was insane. It was crazy, and you got you're trying to tell yourself that that's your job, and you just had a buddy get mowed down the day before by machine gun fire, and you're hoping that hopefully that was the guy, and that you're getting I guess evening the score, I suppose. And so like coming back home is just, it's huge, you got all these things.
So you come back home shortly after that?
Yeah, yep.
Holy cow. Like how long after, would you say?
That was probably 2 months prior to coming home.
Okay.
And that, and we definitely had engagements. One of my good buddies, Cuts Forth, he had his wife back home. She was pregnant. We were about a week from going home, and we had one last mission to do. Yeah. And he got shot, right in the head, killed instantly and stuff like that. And so it's just, there's just devastating scenarios one after another. Like you want to help these people as much as you can, but you don't know who you can trust and who you can't. And it's just a really hard situation. And when you're that young, it's just like, it's kind of crazy that we have extremely young, teenagers realistically over there fighting these types of skirmishes and stuff. So you come back, and at that point I figured I'd given my enough service of my life, and received a Purple Heart for being injured, and so I figured it was time to get out and see what else life had in store for me. And
it's not easy coming home.
Yeah, you get home, and you're immediately sent into like this debriefing, that takes about 2 weeks to get you out of the Army. And so you just pretty much turn in your gear and see you later, and you're on your way back into the civilian world. And you're just like, where does money come from?
That's right. Yeah,
I guess is the
now what?
Way. Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's, going back to it, it's, you're still, your mind is still in like this frame of mind that's just, there's so many things that will instantly throw you back into, post-traumatic stress, I guess is the best way. And, you'd see like trash or debris on the side of the roads, and instantly like your heart starts racing. Yeah. Slam on your brakes, you're thinking, well, that could be an IED. And it takes a minute before you even recognize, like, wait a second, like,
I'm not over there.
You're back in the safety of the U.S., but it's weird how it can just travel your mind, and like the smell of diesel, because everything runs on generators over there, and so it's just weird that all the different triggers and struggles that you're trying to cope with, and you lose like your support system. You don't have like
your buddies.
Yeah, you guys had such a close bond. You ate, slept, breathed, bled next to one another, and then you get out, and you just kind of lose that. And so it was a little bit of struggle for sure coming home. I think I definitely you turn towards, the military, realistically all you did on your off time was go out and party. You got 3 days till you got to be back to training, and you get like these little 2 weeks right before you deploy and right when you get back. And so you and your buddies just live like there's not another day to live. And so you're kind of just good at partying. That's all to do in your off time.
And to cope, right?
Yeah. And I was getting into trouble. I was drinking extremely heavily, and I was making mistakes. I had a little run-in with the law for getting in a fight, and quickly I realized like how unhealthy this was, and that something needed to change. And there's a good amount of time where you think, maybe I'll just go back into the military. Like, things were so much more simple. Like, it seemed to make so much more sense. And so I just kind of looked back at what it was that that gave me like happiness as a kid, and that was whitewater kayaking. I remember doing it and loving it, and did a little research into it, saw that people were running huge waterfalls and these little plastic boats, and instantly was hooked. Decided to take 2 years, forget about going to school, forget about building an empire or making millions, and just was like, what is it to get my mind right? And I just totally invested myself 2 years. I told myself I was going to take just to enjoy the freedoms that I'd spent fighting for, and it ended up being the best thing I could have possibly done.
Gosh, well, thank you. First of all, for sharing the trauma back there. I mean, that can't be easy to talk about, and reliving that. That was a gift you gave me here. Thank you.
Absolutely.
And God, thanks again for all you did back there.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks. I think that it's crucial that veterans talk about that type of stuff.
Gives us a window.
Yeah, it's just weird. It's just like considered taboo for somebody to ask, what you endured overseas. But I think, where does that leave a veteran
That's right.
that should be able to, express themselves, talk about what they encountered, and ultimately learn from it, heal from it, and move forward. And so, that's why, I don't mind, going back and revisiting those things, because it's just the real aspect of the situations that occurred. And so, I think that it helps. You just, I think, going back to it, that's what a lot of veterans don't have.
Yes, that's
somebody to talk to,
Oh, and then civilians have a hard time relating, right? Because there's no communication.
Yeah.
And we want to help.
Right.
We want to be a support, but we don't know how, and it's so hard to relate. We've never been through all those
for sure.
things.
And I've found that from the civilian side of things, people are eager to know. They want to know. They definitely want an understanding of what's going on over there. It's just there's that gray area of don't ask, and then there's as a soldier, you're like, people don't want to hear this. Like these are hard things for anybody to try and understand, and so it leaves them with, where do you go?
Right.
What are your options and stuff? And too often we see people bottle them up until they end up hurting themselves, or finding a different outlet like drugs and alcohol and stuff along those guidelines. So I just feel lucky, like I said, to have found the outdoor community. I guess that was kind of that was the next step in my life. It was
your salvation, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was just a huge eye-opening, moment. And I think that, those types of high adrenaline situations are now a part of you, and trying to just turn that off and,
it doesn't work.
And move forward. Yeah, isn't going to help you. You're still going to struggle with it. But, I found that, getting involved in the kayaking and being able to use that type of skill set with being able to operate under extremely strenuous situations was something I could, place right into whitewater kayaking. And, it was just, you got this heart pounding, like raw, uncertain adrenaline going through you with nothing but 4 or 5 of like your good friends that you have to trust with your life, and the river becomes your battlefield, and you have a plan of what you think's going to happen and how you can get through this stretch of whitewater, and sometimes it doesn't go as planned, just like in the military, and it has you hanging on for everything you got, trying to come out of it alive, and your buddies that are out there with you, will without a doubt put their life at risk trying to make sure that they get you, out of like a sieve or a siphon or an undercut or a log jam, and that was just huge, finding that type of, brotherhood outside of the military was massive. And you got, 5 guys, and you're going through, a 12-day kayaking expedition, and somebody didn't bring enough food. Well, everybody just rations it up, and everybody just makes sure that you might have to go with a little bit less, but it's not like, oh, tough luck, you should have planned better.
Right.
So it was just, It was huge. And then you take away all the modern distractions of Wi-Fi and cell phones because there's no reception out there. And so you push your boundaries all day. You end up around a fire at the end of the night and talking about it. And, the foundation of trust is built through that. And so you're able to open up with these people that, weren't overseas, but they're eager to know. And real conversations occur from that. And, pretty soon, you just have like that same type of network that you had in the military through extreme outdoor action sports. And so it was just,
you wanted to share that with others to give them the salvation and the healing as well, right?
Absolutely, It was, it just allowed me to change a chapter of my life. I think that was the biggest thing is I closed the, the time in service in the military and opened up a new chapter of my life, and I think that, if more veterans, I find this all the time when I talk to guys that I deployed with. They're just constantly reliving those as like the most highest honor, the best thing they've ever done when they actually felt they were making a difference and stuff like that. And it's just not healthy.
Yes.
It's time to move forward. That was a part of your life, but that's not your life. That's not who you are. That doesn't define you anymore. And so, that was something that I knew just helped me. Instead of staying up late and partying and getting into trouble, I was wanting to go to bed early so I could get up right at sunrise, grab my stuff, meet up with the guys, and go kayaking. And so it just redirected, everything that I was doing that was unhealthy into something that was. And
so you go through this transformation time,
right?
And what was it that you said, "Gosh, this worked for me. I've got to help all these others." What was that point?
Yeah, it's it's tragedy into triumph, I guess, is the best way to put it. When I joined the military, I did it with 3 of my best friends, Josh, Andy, and a guy named Chad.
Yeah.
And we all ended up getting out right after, one after another, moving back here to Pocatello. And one of my buddies, Chad, I knew he was struggling pretty drastically and stuff like that. And so I tried to get him out and rafting and constantly try and push him towards, getting involved in one of those sports. And at that point, he was just always eager to do that. And so I started like an awareness campaign originally that was kind of highlighted various veteran athletes and different sports in hopes to inspire somebody like me. Maybe I'll pick this up and try it. And unfortunately, my buddy Chad ended up taking his life, and that's when I realized like an awareness campaign isn't doing enough. Something needs to make this a lot more easier for veterans to get involved. And so with that, I decided to put together a business plan and launch a 501c3 that would do exactly that. And so Professional Transformation Sports Development was created. And so what we do is we bring veterans from anywhere in the U.S. out to Pocatello, Idaho for the duration of 2 weeks for an introduction course to either kayaking, mountain biking, rock climbing, skiing, and snowboarding. And over those 2 weeks, we teach them from knowing absolutely nothing to being able to fully go out and pursue this sport on their own.
And have full equipment.
Yeah, and we outfit them with like the top of the line best equipment you can get. Skilled instructors, and you teach them to be proficient with it. And then at the end of the 2 weeks, we donate it back to them, so they get to keep everything.
So they can use it.
Yeah, continue to find the same escape that helped me and a new direction in life that it creates positivity. And it's been just incredible to see. I was a little worried at first that this worked for me, but what if it doesn't work for others and stuff? But that is never crossed my mind again since after the very first class that we hosted, and constantly see like the tremendous results that we get from the veterans just in the 2 weeks. The transformation that they go through is massive, and we get thank you letters from wives and daughters and sons being like, my dad or mom is an entirely different person after those 2 weeks. And then they get their kids into it, and now they're all going out, and it just becomes like an entire part of their life.
What a difference you're making.
No, I appreciate that. It's like I said, it's it's therapy for me too. It's nice to be able to show other people the same outlet, that same clarity.
You know, the more of these things you do, the more actually it has demand. The more people seek you out, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's difficult to keep up with the demand of
it is
funding it.
For
right?
sure. Yeah. With, you know, I mean, we pay for their flights to their accommodations to their food, drinks, all the gear, every, you know, permit for the ski hill or, you know, kayaking permits and stuff like that. And yeah, so it's, I mean, roughly on average, it costs about $5,000 per veteran that participates. And so, yeah, every class roughly, you know, $40,000 to $50,000 per class. But, you know, even with that being, you know, on a bit of a larger scale, it just didn't make any sense to me to give struggling veterans a glimpse into a different lifestyle and then take it right back.
No,
you know, and be like, hopefully you have, you know, $3,500 to go buy an all, you know, downhill mountain bike and stuff like that. And, you know, I talked to a good amount of my buddies that were struggling, and that was one of the biggest issues financially. They just didn't have the capability to do that.
Yes.
And so, yeah, we wanted to ensure that we not only gave them the knowledge, but also the tools to continue to do it lifelong. And so, yeah, it is definitely can be a difficult task, but, you know, it's one that I've seen firsthand save lives, and so I'll continue to do whatever it is necessary to make sure that I can continue.
Well,
to do
that's our next challenge together, my friend.
Right.
We're going to find out ways to get additional funding,
absolutely,
so that we can change more lives.
And I'm all ears for sure, because we you know, between me and a team of four people, we pretty much do everything from the fundraising to the event planning to the veterans to the sizing to talking to companies.
Big salaries. Right?
Huge salaries. No, unfortunately not. Yeah, you know, as much as I would love to do this for a living full time, and I think that, you know, would be a lot more, you know, be a lot more productive, you know, if I was able to dedicate my whole time to it. It's you know, I set out with the mission of helping others, and so if that just means that my workload it goes from working a full-time job and getting paid to working another full-time job and not getting paid, I'll continue to do that, you know.
So all of you are volunteers?
Yeah, every one of us, works a full-time job, and does this in the meantime, in our spare time.
That's incredible.
So, I give, so much credit to my team. They have been massive. I know that it takes a large chunk of their life to dedicate it towards this cause, but, they've seen it firsthand like I have. And so they, with every class, it's just too easy to know that it's worth all that hard work and everything and fundraising. Once those 2 weeks are here, it's just paradise, just joy.
That's
just
neat.
Being able to get out there with struggling vets and just watch them completely turn a 180 and be a different person by the end of it. So
one thing I really want to put a clear point on is that as you've gained success with this, it has brought more demand.
Without a doubt.
So it's like the word got out.
Yep.
And people really need this. It's a need. And so people are flooding, and it's outstripping your demand or your ability.
Without a doubt, I mean, when time is crucial with somebody that could be contemplating, if they're going to hurt themselves or not, at this point, we have a good 3-4 year waiting list because we can only take about 10 veterans based on our funding at this time. That's 40 to 50 veterans, a year, and every vet that comes to our program goes back. Their buddies are like, what is this? They find out. We get 6 other people that register just based off of each individual. And, like I said, the media definitely helped this really catapult. And with that came a lot more veterans, but not as much, not a lot of funding, So it's definitely gotten massive. We have a waiting list of veterans in the thousands, and so.
Wow. Well, we've got to try to help you.
Absolutely.
On that. And what a noble purpose and service that you're doing.
No, I appreciate that.
Fellow soldiers and So I thank you again. I thank you so much for what you shared right there. That was sacred. That you gave really a piece of yourself to me and to the viewers here. It was incredible. Thank you for doing that.
Of course, like I said,
it opened up a window to me. So I want to ask you one last question.
Yeah.
So, you go back to the kid that was in the fight, right?
Yeah.
And you've lived this whole, which must seem like a couple of lifetimes,
right,
of the stuff you've seen and gone through. If you had a moment to go back to that kid, what is the one piece of advice you would give him?
Yeah, man, that's a very good question. I don't actually think I would do anything different. I think that everything that I've encountered has somehow or some way shaped me into the person that I am today. I think that, I learned from everything, and every event that has happened in my life has definitely shaped me to the person that I am today, given me a better understanding, even from back in high school where I got in that fight. I was so mad at the school district 25, president of the board for being like, yeah, everybody here thinks you deserve another chance, but I don't, so find a different school district to go to. That was his exact words, and, I was just like, super angry and stuff like that. But it lit a fire, I mean, you have two options. You can either let something destroy you and hold you back and admit that you're a failure, or you can let it become fuel and let it really inspire you to be like, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to show you that you're not right about me, and I'm going to do good things. And so, I think that I've just been lucky, from being overseas to getting back and being able to do this. It's all in some way shaped me to the person I am today, and so I have no regrets. And I'd just let myself figure it out all over again.
That's great. Oh, that's a great answer.
No shortcuts.
No shortcuts. You gotta live it all.
Make the same mistakes I did and learn from them and change from it, and let it shape you to be the person you are. So, I guess that would, no advice. No advice. So
that's great. Well, thank you again. Thank you again for your service and for your ongoing service.
And I appreciate that, and I appreciate you having me here, giving me this opportunity, helping out with the nonprofit and everything else. And so it's been nothing but a pleasure.
It'll be a fun journey to be on with you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Community Connections with Jeff Newgard, where every episode you hear unique stories of your neighbors, colleagues, friends, and community connections. You can find our podcasts on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, and other popular platforms. Subscribe to our channel to keep up to date on all future conversations. Equal Housing Lender, member FDIC.